All right, so now that you have your scavenger hunt ready, we're going to go ahead and get started with this. Oops, I left that shut. So I know we've gone over this crime scene personnel slide like a million times. So at this point, rather than me just reading it to you, there's a question on your scavenger hunt that asks you to list different crime scene personnel and their role at the crime scene. So I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to work on this and fill this out by yourself, and then we'll have some time to ask any questions. So I'm just going to pause the recording and give you a couple minutes to fill out that portion of your scavenger hunt. All right, so does anybody have any question about these crime scene personnel? Do we understand the roles of everybody at the crime scene? And some key things to remember here are that the police officers are the people who secure the crime scene, and the district attorney issues the search warrants. That was difficult to say. And you know, and we've talked about the differences between medical examiners, coroners, forensic pathologists, but if you have any questions about that, just let me know. All right? And let me just forewarn you today, a lot of what we're doing is watching videos just to get some extra review. And I think they're all really good videos, so hopefully you'll enjoy them and take advantage of the information that they're giving you. But before we do that, let's go over some different vocabulary that we haven't necessarily looked at yet. And I want to see if you guys know these things, okay? So let's try this first one. This should be pretty easy. What is any physical location in which a crime has occurred or is suspected of having occurred? What do you think? There you go, crime scene. Good job, Bailey and Tegan. All right, what about blank crime scene, the original location of a crime or accident? I know, and this one is going to be a challenge. This one is. Hey, yeah, good job, Tegan and Bailey. Good for you. It's primary, all right? And then what is the second one then? The alternate location, if that's primary. Good, secondary. All right, so let me explain something about that. Let's say, for example, that a bad guy robs a bank, okay? And he robs the bank and then he takes that money and he puts it in a locker at a train station, all right? What would be the primary crime scene? Yep, that's exactly right, Tyler. The bank is the primary. And then what is the secondary crime scene? Very good, the train station locker, all right? So it's associated with the crime. You can find some evidence there at the train station, but it is not the primary crime scene, okay? In the case of a murder, if you had a dump site as well where somebody dumped the body after they murdered the person, then where they were murdered would be the primary, and where the dump site was would be the secondary. Okay? There you go. Good job, Tegan. All right. Who is the person thought to be capable of committing a crime? Suspect. Good. Perfect. It would be suspect because we're not sure. We just think they're capable of the crime, so they're a suspect. Who is a person associated with someone suspected of committing a crime? Starts with an A. Accessory, there's a better word though. We're almost there. I don't know if I don't think we've talked about this word in this class yet. That would be an accomplice, okay? Accomplice. And let me type it in the chat. Accomplice. There you go. I'm sure you've heard that word before, probably on a TV show or something like that. That's the word we're looking for, is accomplice, okay? What about the statement of where a suspect was at the time of a crime? No, not a witness statement. That's a good guess. So you say, excuse me, Bailey, where were you on the night of the 23rd at 10 p.m.? And you'd say, oh, I wasn't there. I wasn't at the crime scene. I was at the grocery store. Alibi, that's the one, okay? So it's, yeah, it's a statement of where the suspect was at the time of the crime, especially to try to prove that they're innocent, okay? Alibi. Good. All right, here's some more. Who are typically the first to arrive at the crime scene? They're responsible for securing the crime scene and detaining persons of interest. Yeah, it's A-L-I-B-I, A-L-I-B-I, alibi. Yes, police officers. Sorry, I was hollering for people to keep it quiet because I think it's probably coming through the mic. All right, police officers. Yes. All right, the blank unit documents the crime scene in detail and collects any physical evidence. This should actually be 2 blanks here. Blank, blank unit. Anybody know? Yes, the crime scene unit. Okay, crime scene unit. So CSI or CSU, crime scene unit. Okay. The district blank is often present to help determine if any search warrants are required. What do you think? Yes, good. District attorneys. All right, the medical blank may or may not be present to determine a preliminary cause of death. Yes, good. You guys are so smart. All right, blank may be called in if an expert is needed, and this also should be 2 blanks. Blank, blank. May be called in if an expert is needed. Close. It's specialist, but it is a something specialist. No, what I'm looking for is forensic specialist. So, Kenneth, you were right on it. But yeah, forensic specialists may be called in if an expert is needed. Okay, and then blank, interview witnesses and consult with CSI to investigate the crime by following leads provided by witnesses and evidence. Yes, investigators, but what's that word called? They're associated with the police department, but they have a different role to fill. Think Sherlock Holmes. Yes, detective. Okay. All right. Good job. Okay, so let's review our differences between circumstantial and direct. Remember that circumstantial might place the victim at the scene, but was not witnessed by a human or recording, okay? And it helps to what? Draw in a word that we talked about a couple weeks ago. Helps to draw in something that starts with an I. What's that word that means like a hypothesis that we use in forensics? Starts with an I. It's like an educated guess. Yes, inference. There we go. All right, so it helps to draw an inference, but it's not a witness or recording, okay? And this would include pretty much anything, right? Prints, weapons, hair, fibers, DNA, anything that you can find that's kind of like physical evidence that could help draw an inference, okay? And then a direct evidence is a person who actually saw the suspect at the scene or a recording, all right? So we can talk about security footage, eyewitnesses, things like that for direct evidence. And just to let you know, in the Canvas, all these are corrected. There were a couple of typos that I fixed in this PowerPoint, and they didn't show up in here, but they are fixed in the PowerPoint on Canvas. So I apologize for that. Okay, now we're going to watch a good lengthy video here. It's about 17 minutes. Super interesting. It's about the FBI. It was filmed in 1941. Actually, no. It was filmed after World War II or right during at the end of it. And talking about some techniques that they used during World War II. somebody mentioned the other day that there was a gap in that timeline that we studied during World War II. And this is an explanation of the things that were happening during that time. So I find that it's really interesting. We're going to watch this whole thing, and then we'll come back together and you can tell me what you found interesting or not about this video. Okay. I give it just one more minute, maybe. Okay. Good. So if you didn't get a chance to finish it, maybe just click on the YouTube link, and then you can, if you click on the word YouTube, it'll say watch on youtube.com, and then you can finish watching it later. But we need to move on. So what did you guys think about that? How interesting was that to see the FBI way back in the day? How does that compare to the FBI that we know today? Yeah, right? Did you see any like outdated techniques that you realized or things that wouldn't apply anymore? Yeah. How about like the microfilm and stuff? I heard someone say that one of their spy tricks was even to take a fake quarter, and it would open almost like, you know how like when you have those chocolate coins and you can peel the foil off of it? Those quarters would be like an empty one of those coins, and you could hide microfilm in it. But of course we don't use film anymore, so I don't know if we would still be using that kind of technique. What else? The building, even the FBI building looked very different, and J. Edgar Hoover was still around back then. Did you recognize that name, J. Edgar Hoover, from us talking about him? Yeah, so pretty cool stuff. All right. Oh, and even their weapons and stuff, the guns they were using, those are pretty outdated too. It was pretty cool to watch. All right. So, yes, historic. Yay, history. Okay, I'm not going to read all of this, but if you need to take snips of this, you can. But just to kind of review quickly, remember that the first step at a crime scene is to secure the crime scene, and the police officer does this, okay? Then we identify all the people who have had access to the crime scene. Then we transport any victims to the medical facility, and someone accompanies them. And that person cannot be the lead investigator because they have to stay at the crime scene. Then we like really mark out the entire scope and range of the crime scene, and cordon it off with crime scene tape. Then we get any search warrants from the district attorney. We make sure that no unauthorized people are allowed into the crime scene to prevent contamination. We make a security log of people that are coming in and out of the crime scene, and no one can eat, drink, or smoke while in that area because they could drop crumbs or spill a drink or leave cigarette butts behind, that kind of thing. We interview the initial responding officers if necessary. We identify all the individuals like suspects, witnesses, bystanders, family and friends, emergency personnel. Then we look to see how the perpetrator got in and out of the crime scene. And then we conduct a walkthrough of the crime scene looking for evidence. All right, so what is the first step that's done at a crime scene? Everybody should know this by now. This is a given. If you can't answer this, I will be highly disappointed. Yes, secure the crime scene. Very good. Thank you, Abigail. All right, here's us another video about our CSI, our crime scene investigators, and we've gone over these bullet points before, but I would like for you to watch this video about a day in the life of a crime scene personnel. So you can click straight on the link. I'm going to pause the recording while you watch it since it's not embedded in this presentation, and then let me know when you're done watching it. Okay, good. Is everybody else done? What'd y'all think about them Texas Rangers? And their cowboy hats, and what'd y'all think about that? Yeah. Did you? Yeah, they're a real thing. Um, what kinds of techniques did you see that they were using in that crime scene? What kinds of things were they using to help them investigate? Okay, they were drawing a crime scene sketch, right? What else? Measuring evidence with the markers. So they were using those like coordinates that we talked about during crime scene sketch. Um, yeah, and the markers too. You're right, like the numbers with the scale that they use for the pictures. Um, what else did you see in that video? I know there was a lot more. Alternate light source, yes. So they were using that blue light with the yellow goggles to see anything. Photography, right? What was she doing with that doorknob? What things was she looking for on the doorknob? Light, there we go. Prints and DNA, good. So even sometimes when you wouldn't be sure if you could find DNA somewhere, you could always swab for it and try to get that. Yeah, it was like a black light, and they use different colors at different times based on what they're looking for. Good. All right. We've talked about coroners before. Remember that coroners are an elected position, okay? Coroners are elected, and more states now require that they have medical training and education. So oftentimes they start out as forensic pathologists or even medical examiners. And medical examiners are appointed. So coroners elected, medical examiners are appointed. Okay, and here's a couple of videos. The first one's going to tell you about some things that a forensic pathologist does. And then the second video is talking about a pathologist assistant, not even necessarily about a forensic pathologist, but just a pathologist assistant. And just as a forewarning, the pathologist assistant does include some video footage of a human organ. I think it's maybe a liver that they're looking at. Not sure, maybe just some fatty tissue. So if you get squeamish about that, you don't have to watch the second recording. But just go ahead and take some time now and watch that. It's not super graphic. I just wanted to give you a heads up. And then let me know when you're done with both recordings. I mean, both videos. That's what I meant. It should be live in just like 1 second. Sometimes it takes a second to load. All right, great. So what did you learn from those two videos about pathology and a pathologist assistant, kind of what they do? Did you learn anything new, or did you know everything that was in those videos? See a bunch of people typing. I'll wait. Yeah, okay, so there's different types of pathologists that work on things like microbiology, genetics, hematology, all those things. Okay, so they're part of the autopsy process, or they are the people that do the autopsy. What else? Yes, and that was especially true for those pathologist assistants. They were the ones that correspond with like surgeons and stuff like that. They help to do things like biopsies on tumors, and then give those results back to the doctors. Good. All right. Okay, and yet another video. But this one I actually have to get the link for you, and I forgot about that. So give me just 1 second. Looking for the link. This is going to help you understand what luminol is and how it's used. And I heard from someone that they weren't able to open this link. All but one person yesterday was able to open it. It has fake blood in it, so I think it is just trying to make sure that you want to watch something quote unquote graphic, but it's just fake blood. Okay, so watch that and then let me know when you're done with it. Great. All right. So we found out how they use luminol. They use it to find traces of blood that can't be seen by the human eye, or also they use it to test a substance. If they see like a red substance, they use luminol to test whether or not it is in fact blood. Okay, because it could be Kool-Aid or grape jelly or whatever else. So they use it to see if it is blood. Good. All right. Um, and they were talking in that video also about some new techniques that are used, but you do need to know how to use luminol or what it's used for before the IA. So important to know. All right, I think this is our last video today. Yeah. All right, and this one's about biometrics. So watch this one. I'll pause the recording and then let me know when you're done. You guys are doing great. Thanks for keeping up. I think we're going to run out of time for you to finish watching that video. So if you'll just bring it back to class for just a minute, I just want to cover a couple more points. We have 1 minute left of class. So if you'll just come back in here for just a second. I want you to be aware that you need to know the 4 types of crime scene sketches. B is an overview sketch. C is an elevation sketch. D is an exploded view, and A is a perspective sketch, okay? And all this is in Canvas and gives detailed descriptions of each type of sketch. And it's also in the PowerPoint. And then last thing is that you can click on this resource. It will tell you some things about the Fry standard versus the Daubert standard used in a particular case with toxicology, which of course involves Matthew Orfila and James Marsh. These typos are fixed on Canvas as well, so I apologize that that's misspelled. And this is misspelled also, but I changed it in Canvas, I promise. So you can use that as a resource to look into toxicology and the Fry versus Daubert standard. And then that's it, all right? So that is all I have for you today. I'm going to stop our recording here.